Hello there, and welcome to this impromptu episode of Rantz. It's Crisandro, of course, and well, it's been a very strange weekend, hasn't it? It's been one of disappointment in football, and then one of protests as well, which is kind of like what I wanted to talk about, really, just for a few moments. Um, well, it all kind of follows on from the last video, and I suppose you haven't been living on the rock, obviously, so you know what's been going on with the movement to get ENIC out of Spurs and whatnot, and all that. And it sort of has been gathering momentum to a point where, especially if you look at the posts on the group, for those of you who are members as well, you'll see that there's been one or two. I wouldn't say it's been like a broad spectrum, or it's completely widespread, but there is a fair number of people now who are more emboldened to bang the ENIC out drum, the Levy out drum. And even I kind of said on a couple of posts that yeah, I'd be happy to see. I mean, after the whole Super League fiasco, in a way, it just kind of went down without anybody even knowing, not even the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust, who I'll touch on in a second. They even knew about it. Even that they were lied to when asked many times about whether the club plans to go into the Super League. And what followed was after that was a quick back down, climb down, I should say, after 48 hours from Spurs and the other five English clubs that were involved, and then since then there's been this motion for ENIC to leave has gathered momentum, and I said that's, for me that was kind of endemic of how football is these days, and that if we're not even going to be consulted about something as monumental as a Super League, and the fact that prices inevitably will go up, and the fact that it's not going to be possible to see every single game, especially if you're a season ticket holder. It's just going to be pointless for the average fan, and that's, I just kind of said at the time, thank you. I mean, 20 years of ENIC, and I know there's only been one trophy, but in that time we've had numerous opportunities to win trophies, and for one reason or another, which I said in the group as well, it's kind of fallen by the wayside. But thank you, ENIC, if that was your plan to take us into the Super League. And since then, they've said that they weren't really sure about the whole dynamics of it all. But come on, if that was your plan, then thank you for the memories. It's time to go. And I still stand by that, but I haven't been as vociferous a supporter of the ENIC out as many have been, mostly because I don't want to lend my voice to that type of crowd. And when you saw the protests that happened on Saturday, you kind of see why. Well, say protests in the looser sense, it didn't. It just seemed to be like a mass gathering of people. Just, I say mass gathering of quite a gathering, probably about 2,000 people there, and not much happened. And a lot of people talk about Arsenal's protest. It's always a case of wanting to beat Arsenal. Arsenal this, Arsenal that, Arsenal's protest. The difference between Arsenal's protests and Manchester United's protests, they've been wanting their chairman and the owners out for a long time for many different reasons, and it just happens that the ESL was the final straw that broke the camel's back for them. For Arsenal, is the lack of proper investment for nigh on 20 odd years, and they took it out on Wenger, which proved to be the wrong case, because it turned out, because obviously it was the chairman and the owners that were causing the issue. Wenger was just happy to go along with it. Now they've seen that, and now they know where the issue should lie, and that's where they're protesting. Manchester United, ever since the Glazers came in and plunged their club into what, £800 million worth of debt just to buy the club. Yeah, they've had some good times. They've won trophies as well, and they've had some investment, but it was always a case of where their involvement was going to take the club. And obviously they saw it with the attempts at limiting the Premier League to the six most powerful clubs initially, where they'll have all the power and all the money and whatnot, and they'll be distributed how they see fit. And that's just morphed into the ESL, trying to go into that. And that was obviously for them to destroy the Camel's back as well, and that's why their protest has been absolutely vociferous, which is why they've been wanting they've been wanting the Glazers out for a long time, just like Arsenal been wanting Kroenke out for a long time, which is why their protests have attracted 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 people. They go on for a long time and they're vociferous. There is noise, there is clamour, there's all that because they feel passionate about it. At Spurs, for the most part, we haven't. That's just the bottom line of it. We haven't for the most part. A lot of the people who have been Levy out for a long, long time have just been blaming Levy and ENIC for anything and everything they can do. And for me, whenever I've had a conversation with those who want ENIC out, there's never been the proof that I want. There's never been evidence. There's never been, so okay, show me the evidence that Levy's lines his own pockets. The accounts say that that ENIC have not taken money out of the club for a long, long time. Is it, 15 years? And I think the only time that they took money out was when I think Joe Lewis authorised that £50 million loan to Spurs, I think 6 years ago, to buy a few players, and Spurs have been paying him back in that time. So that's the accounts. That's just simply counting. There's no proof that he takes money out. Levy lowballs other teams, so what? That really did not get me at all. He lowballs other teams in bidding for players. Yes, we lost a couple of players and in that move, and in him doing so, and that is unfortunate. But that's not made me want ENIC out in that time. And I know they'll be blamed for the 18 months of signing nobody. I'll blame him for one or two, Grealish being one of them. But I have to say that it's, for me, it is a committee thing. It has been for a long time now. When things go well, it's the committee or the manager that's authorised the transfer. When it doesn't go well, it's just Levy. That's just how it is. That's how it seems to be, and that's where I kind of diverge from that as well. I think, I mean, there's been stories out there, and people seem to forget that Glenn Hoddle and Harry Redknapp both came out during that period, especially that summertime, where we weren't buying anybody, and said that there is money there to spend, and that Pochettino knows that, but nobody came in. So that leads me to believe that it is both a manager and a committee issue that's caused that issue. I wouldn't just lay the blame solely at one foot or both feet. So for me, there's never been that kind of virulent wanting to get rid of the chairman or the owners. Right now, I'm of the opinion that, thanks for the memories, but it's time to go because of the ESL. It should never have happened the way it did, and it would be better if they actually asked people or actually consulted the fans, is this a good idea? I mean, that's essentially what it is. I mean, it just felt like the club was being stolen and we were just being taken along for the ride, whether we wanted it or not, and that's where I drew the line. And that's where the protests come in, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday was much bigger, but it didn't feel like a protest. It just felt like an excuse for everyone to just turn up and start drinking or whatnot, to do cans and cans of lager. It just didn't feel like, one or two flares were set off, but it just didn't feel like it was a movement to try and make any kind of meaningful change that they want. I'm not going to say that we want, because I'll get onto that in a second, but it was a few anti-Levy songs, a few anti-ENIC songs were sung, and then it just degenerated into anti-Arsenal, and that's why it's kind of like just singing songs about hating Arsenal, singing songs about Sol Campbell for some reason, and then came the songs calling for the death of Levy, and I kind of thought, this is what they want me to put my name to. And that's why I never backed it, because I knew for the most part who would be going on those protests, and I didn't want to add my name to that. And this is where the issue is. If you're going to organise a protest like this, if you're going to organise a protest with one message, you have to make sure that everyone's on board in that message. And it just seemed like it was just a free-for-all, and it was just like a normal day out for most football fans that were going to see the team play. And that was just And those songs, that's what put an end to it all for me, and that's why I kind of drew the line. Sunday, I didn't see anything of the protest. Apparently, only about 50, 60 people turned up. It was very subdued, and this is where I kind of think that the minority have the loudest voices at the club. Was if you watch enough of the fan TV channels and you listen to the messages, it's a case of we want this, we want that, we want ENIC out, and you talk to the average fan, it doesn't come across that way. Yes, there's a disenfranchisement. Yes, and there's a disenchantment with the current owners, but it's not a case of demanding that they're out. From what I've seen in the group, I'm just talking about what I see in the group at the moment. And our group's just a small sample, really, just under 2,000 people. You could probably say that roughly 50, 60 people are the ones that are mostly leave it out. And of those 50, 60 people, only about 30 or 40 talk about it regularly. The rest stay quiet until something bad happens on the pitch. Then it's Levy out. Or it's a discussion about something, and it always turns to Levy, even though it's got nothing to do with them. So this is where I say that they have not read the room properly for the most part, and yeah, I mean, people like me, no one speaks for me in those especially on Saturday's protests. No one spoke for me, and it's given the impression now that I know there's a lot of disappointment because of how low key the protests were, but it might be best to have gone down the whole THST route, they are pretty much trying to mediate with the club to try and get some fan representation on the board, so that we can then discuss the club as one, trying to get the fans back on side with the club, because the gap between the club and the fans has never been so wide. And I was there for the early 90s when there was kind of an issue where there was such a disconnect, but one could see that the issue the issue has to be resolved somehow, and it's not going to be resolved by Levy or ENIC leaving, because for that to happen, somebody has to buy them, somebody has to put in an offer for them. ENIC will have to say, yes, this offer is good for us, it's good for the club, and then it had to go, and then it had to be passed. And so who's going to stump up the £1.5 to £2 billion needed to buy the club out? And this is where the issue comes in. If they're credible buyers, I should say, they're looking to try and muscle in on the club, try to get their piece of it, and they can provide something that this club can build on, then yes, I'm all for it. Like I said, thanks for the memories, there's time to go. That's my message. But it has to be done the right way. And the way the pictures that beamed around the world from Saturday just kind of shows that we as a fan base have an element of a very unsavoury element, and that everybody, I suppose, backs them, and that's not the case, and it never will be the case. The minority at the club who want instant change, no matter what happens, they are a minority. I don't know if I speak for everybody. I don't know if there are that many people on my wavelength, but if change can happen, then I'd implore it to happen. If it can't, then we have to try and work through it. That's literally what I can say. All I can say. We're never going to get to the levels of the Arsenal protest or the Manchester United protest, simply because the appetite is not there. It hasn't been there. We've steadily grown under ENIC. It might not be what you want to hear, but it's the truth. We have steadily grown under ENIC to the point where we just keep missing out. And the last hurdle, is that the chairman or the owner's fault? For a small part, yes. Is the manager's fault? For a small part, yes. Is the player's fault? Oh yes, definitely. So this is why I can't lay it all at one person's foot. So we have to try and work this through, and I'm glad that there is going to be a mediation between the Supporters Trust and the club. We're trying to find a way through this, and try and find a way of balancing the needs of the financial aspect of the club with the playing aspect, because we are just a short way, just a tiny way of making it up there. But proper investment is needed, and whether ENIC want to be a part of that, and if they don't, then if they can help facilitate the handover, then that'll be fantastic. If not, then they have to try and find a way of getting through it. But for me, the protests, they don't. It's not in my name, I'm afraid. Not in my name, and we need to find a better way of doing that. And if we are going to protest again, then everyone needs to be on board, and the message needs to be clear, because no way do I think that the majority of Spurs fans support the death of the chairman, and it's just quite frankly vulgar, and I'm not quite sure why anyone would publicly want to say that ever, but it is the world we live in right now, and hopefully that dies a death quickly and they are moved on, and people let them know that it's not on, but it is what it is. But well, what do you think? I mean, how do you think it should all go? Just leave a couple of details at the bottom. Let me know in the comments how you thought that the protest went on Saturday and Sunday. I mean, we also won the game on Sunday, which is good. Beat Wolves, fantastic. To me, the result bodes well for finishing as high up in the table as we can, and having a good recruitment in the summertime if we have the cash to do so. But we shall see. I mean, for me, when the cup final was lost, that was literally it. Nothing left to play for, as you know, and you guess there's some more doubts. I'm not a big tub thumper of Champions League qualification. That's not a trophy for me. So, just for me, it's finishing as high as we can. We're having to finish in the Champions League places. We're doing fantastic. Nothing for me to get the bunting out for. But we won, and so Wednesday's the next game. Apparently, there's going to be some kind of protest there as well, I think. So I'll be recording that as well for the matchday supplements, and we'll let you know how it all goes. But yeah, hope you all had a good weekend. Thanks for watching, and look out for the video either Wednesday night or Thursday morning. And that's going to drop. Spurs versus Aston Villa will be the last matchday supplement video we'll do this season, and then we might do the last game of the season as a watch along between me and Bilal. So yeah, hopefully you're having a good day, and we shall see you for the live watch along on the Sunday. You'll take care. Bye bye.